Hi, welcome to the Sticky Thoughts podcast. Here we talk about thoughts that stuck with us. We get curious, we get honest, we try not to spiral, but no promises. Here are your hosts. This is Kajal Singh.
And this is Smriti Kamath, and on this podcast, we are showing up not as psychologists but as people who are also psychologists. So, this episode is based on this quote I came across a couple of months back now from this Mel Robbins podcast that she had with Gabor Mate. I hope I'm saying the name right. It was a conversation, so I'll try to summarize it the best I can. So Mel shares this incident of she faced sexual trauma when she was young. Gabor was trying to get at how that is not the incident of the main trauma. Like in the sense he asked her right after that happened, did you say anything to anybody? And she was like, no. And he said that is the incident of the main trauma. And I don't know if I summarized that well at all. But basically, what he was trying to get at was that the trauma is not just the event itself. Like, there can be instances that are more probable to leave trauma. But it's not the event itself if we have the resources. Like, in a sense, here he told her that because she did not feel like she could go and approach anybody right after it happened and she felt like she had to keep it to herself, that is where the trauma began, like way before the event actually happened. Because over the years she grew up learning that even if something like this happens to her, she can't really open up or tell anybody. That was kind of more or less, I think, the quote was like a summary of it, because it was like a whole back and forth conversation.
Do you want to tell me how did the code resonate with you?
The quote, when I listened to it, I was at the gym and I was listening to this podcast, and then I immediately started tearing up. I think it's very almost obvious sounding, the quote itself, and when you think about it, it like makes sense. But I don't think usually that is how we see it, or that is not how it's usually talked about. But it just made so much sense when he put it like that, and I feel like I had a whole mind blown moment, even though when you look at it that way, it's not all that surprising. But in that moment, it almost like hit me, like, that is true. So these events that have left you with some amount of trauma, it's kind of like not those itself, but the fact that you didn't feel like you could reach out to somebody. Because there's also so many instances where an event can happen which can possibly be traumatic to most people, or it can leave trauma for most people. But then there have still been instances where if you are able to get the help that you need in that moment, or you are able to confide in a safe adult, your parent, anybody, and they help you navigate that in the right way, then you might still carry a little bit from it, but then it won't be this heavy thing that you're carrying with you all through your life. It would be this bad thing that happened with you or to you, and that's kind of in the past. It's not kind of traveling with you as you go on with your life. Does it bring up anything for you or remind you of anything?
I've been following his work for quite some time now. When you suggested that I should listen to this podcast, I was really looking forward to it. I knew that he always has something very enticing to talk about when it comes to trauma. So when I listened to the podcast and when Mel Robbins was talking about her trauma, I think it's just the way he makes you see it. It's like a breakthrough moment for a professional, because when you're able to see it yourself and then you also able to help the client see it, help the person in front of you see it, I think it was very moving. A lot of things came up for me. I was thinking about when exactly does this happen? When do parents end up pushing children so far away that they are no longer able to talk about their struggles with the parents, or they're scared of either disappointing the parents or making the parent angry, or maybe even sometimes children are just very scared of putting the parent in a difficult position themselves, because I think a lot of time when it comes to sexual trauma, it involves somebody and somebody that your parents might also know.
I think that what stands out to me even more about this is that, like you mentioned, Ki, the fact that parents push their kids so far away that they can't even confide emotionally in them. It just stands out to me how common it is. Like, it's not even a drastic thing. for most people, I think that has been the case that you can't tell your parents anything. They're
Yeah.
always angry at you or they're yelling at you. And I feel like I might have seen very few people who have a genuinely good relationship with their parents who actually can think of, okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk to my mom about this, or I'm gonna tell my parents or something. And I feel like even when that happens, like, they are also met with, like, what? Is that normal? You're just gonna go tell your parents. Like, that is how normalized it is to not have that emotional safety with your parents. And that is how the whole culture has been for a really long time now. So then it just makes you think of all the instances where things could have been better, or, like, all the events that could have been managed better, but you just simply can't seek out help from your parents. It's
Yeah.
just not a possibility for so many, most people.
Yeah. There's no vocabulary. There's hardly any, media to teach you how to talk to your parents about difficult stuff. Because that's what's, I think, mostly been happening, that you end up not telling your parent, you end up having to deal with it on your own. So you end up developing trauma out of the event. So I think that is something that all of us can work on together as a community. One another thing that comes to my mind is it doesn't have to be your parent. As a child,
Yeah.
when you want somebody to confine into, it does not need to be your parent. It can be any safe adult. It can be your grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a teacher, somebody you can actually trust. So when you and I were discussing about Gabor Mate's quote and the podcast, and I was actually reading this book, The All About Love,
Mm.
quite famous, I think, in the book world. So I think Bell Hooks was trying to navigate and understand what love means. She also talks about healing from experiences and how love plays a role, where she talks about her
Mm.
mother being this person who actually taught her what love is, the real role model for her to learn about love and practice love, which was also very around healing. So I think this safe adult can be anybody. It does not need to be your parent, but at least one safe adult makes it so much easier to process difficult situations, process situations that can be traumatic.
Yeah, or at least minimize the impact of it. It takes one adult before, and sometimes it also takes one adult after. Like, for example, you do have disturbed relationships, or disturbed relationship patterns. Of course, it's a lot more than that, but a lot of times healing does not happen in isolation. So even if you do have some experiences and which has left you with some patterns, a lot of times when you have that one person later, it
Hmm.
can be a friend or any one connection you make. So that's interesting. To prevent trauma, also it takes one safe adult, and kind of to heal from it also takes an adult.
Yeah. What do we when we say a safe adult?
In the context of you being a kid, safe adult would be somebody who is emotionally safe for you. Like, in the sense, who knows how to respond, who is protecting you, who is not gonna blame you for the thing you went through.
Yeah.
So, emotionally safe mainly. And I mean, I think preferably somebody who can keep you physically safe also if something happens. Even if somebody has, like, comes from a dysfunctional household, teachers can make a really big impact. Like, that, having that one teacher that you can go to. And, like, basically you getting that feeling ki if something bad happens, this person will take care of it. I'm
Exactly.
not gonna be on my.
Exactly, yeah. They do not need to know all the right steps, all the right ways to do
Mm.
it, the right method. They do not need to be trained really. But it's just the willingness to, accept the feeling that, oh, this person will accept me, will believe me, I think, to start with,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then would at least, want to go through this with me or help me
Yeah.
any capacity that they can. I think just giving that space is in itself very healing.
Yeah.
When Gabor Mate is talking about this quote, do you think the quote limits to sexual trauma or can it be extended to more?
I don't think it needs to be confined to just sexual trauma because it feels like just the same thing. Of course, every situation would have its own complications, but Mainly the thing is ki, do you have somebody who can make you feel safe about the situation if you have somebody to go to? For example, if it's a natural disaster, so of course it's difficult to do because who can make you feel safe in a situation like that? Maybe if you like the natural disaster happened where you are and then your safe adult is somewhere else
Hmm.
and they are not affected by it, maybe that can also still help.
Hmm.
But if you both are, then of course that effect I think would reduce. But
Hmm.
any other trauma, like even if you were in a car accident or something, again it comes to the same question. Ki, are you going to somebody? Are you reaching out for help? Because there's also a lot of people, I mean, a lot of adults, I would say, ki, they try to take everything on themselves. Ki, even if something happens, they are hurt or they got into a near accident or they cut their finger, then they would take care of it all by themselves. They would not even tell anybody. So that again is ki, where is that coming from? Ki you don't feel like you can reach out. So even if it's trauma in the sense of an accident or something like that, it's still again like ki, are you reaching out to tell
Yeah.
somebody about it, process it, your feelings with somebody, or are you keeping it to yourself? Especially if you're a kid.
Yeah, yeah, of course, especially when you're a kid. And I also want to talk about how this safe adult does not really need to make somebody feel safe by, say, doing so and so. It's your existence, it's your love, it's the way you are with the kid that makes it a safe space.
Yeah.
There's no really a course that you need to do. There's no set method that you need to have. It's not you not
Yeah.
anything to say create that safe space. It's just your relationship, the connection that you have.
I mean, even if you were to teach it, I mean, you can't teach it in the sense of this is the ABC method that you do or something.
Yeah.
But it's basically how you would be, how you can respond to your own emotions about it. Because a lot of times, I mean, I want to say that's okay or normal, but it's at the moment with how things are, a lot of the ways that adults respond
Hmm.
is justified in how they're responding because that is the treatment they got.
Hmm.
They never learned safe modes of responding to things. And then when something happens to their kid or their kid is saying something, first thing that happens is the parent is going to get scared.
Yeah.
So now your job as a parent is to deal with your emotions yourself and
Yes.
not put that on the kid because the kid is also scared. You can't also be scared and scare the kid more or like try to blame the kid. Then
Yeah.
you're not helping.
Yeah.
So the first thing in even how to respond would be kid to know how to regulate your own emotions. Ki, okay, you are scared, validate your feelings, talk about it to somebody else.
Hmm.
Don't put it on the kid. But
Yeah.
of course, a lot of our parents or a lot of adults haven't learned that. So that is the response they saw. So that is what they are doing. And this whole generational thing is going on.
So when it's a scary situation and you as a parent are scared, then obviously that's also okay. That's also pretty normal.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can process that fear, but you can't
Not react.
not react,
Yeah.
not react, not make the, of course, kid feel responsible for it, and definitely
Hmm.
not make the kid feel responsible for your feelings from it.
And that's what the kid would feel if that is what they're being subjected to because children take everything on themselves. I mean, they think everything in the world is happening because of something they did.
Yeah.
Even if something bad happened in the surrounding, okay, yeah, it must be my fault. So if you are projecting that on the kid, like you're taking out your feelings on the kid, that is what they're gonna remember next. And it's like all small things also, like small thing, they broke the vase. You are angry about the vase being broken or you're sad about the vase being broken and then you yelled at them or
Hmm.
whatever, they're gonna remember that how you reacted,
Hmm.
and then that's what they're gonna see as a frame of reference later. Ki, okay, in these moments, I don't want to make my mom scared or I don't want to make my mom angry, so I'm not gonna tell her,
Hmm.
and that's how it begins.
Yeah, true.
Hmm.
So we learned that the event can be tragic, but it does not need to be dramatic.
Yeah. So I guess let's go over some of the definitions of trauma
Hmm.
and see how we what we think about them. So, APA defines trauma as an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, crime, natural disaster, physical or emotional abuse, neglect, experiencing or witnessing violence, death of a loved one, war, or more. And Bessel van der Kolk, the author of The Body Keeps a Score, defines trauma as not the story of something that happened back then, but the current imprint of that pain, horror, and fear living inside the individual.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about these definitions?
I think in the first definition, they're talking about events that could be traumatic, but in the other definition, he is talking about the way you process what has happened
Yeah.
as trauma. I think that's very interesting. Trauma
Hmm.
is comparatively quite a new area that we as psychologists and psychiatrists are learning about, discovering new thing every other day. And we have a long way to go, of course, but I think I really resonate with Bessel's definition, which is very close to Gabor Mate's understanding and our experience as well. Because I think even when it's not a proper accident, even when when you have put the brake, but nothing's happened, but you're really scared. Something could have happened.
Hmm.
And so nothing has happened as of now, but it could have happened, and now you're really, really scared. You're sweating, you're anxious, you are in shock. And then what happens after that is what's going
Hmm.
to make the event turn into trauma.
It's a very complicated
Yeah.
web. So it's really not as simple as ki, oh, okay, you did not reach out for help, so it's your fault, sort of a thing. And even like the example we were talking about, it's like not the story of something that happened, ki, the same thing can happen, but what is your current imprint of that pain in the sense? How do you remember it? Do you remember it as, oh yeah, that bad thing had happened, but I could deal with it because my mom helped me deal with it, or my friends helped me deal with it? Or do you remember it as, oh yeah, this really bad thing happened that I am still carrying with me because I still can't talk about it with anybody?
And you also want to be able to talk about it with people that you're close with, right? It is so heavy when you can't talk about difficult experiences with people you're really supposed to be close with. I think it gives me another layer of understanding of the Gabor Mate code.
Hmm.
Just individually, just without everything else, just this feeling ki, oh, I experienced this very difficult thing and I cannot talk about this with my mother or my sister or my family.
Hmm.
Just this thing.
To
And
protect them.
yeah, and the thing that happened is another story, but just this feeling of
Exactly. Yeah. Especially the feeling that I can't. It's not
yeah,
even like I don't want to or something. It's like I can't.
I can't because they
I
won't
have
with it,
to.
and they might hurt me with it, or they might feel hurtful.
They might not believe me.
They might not believe me. Oh my God. They might not believe me.
Completely invalidate what I'm going through.
Yeah. What if they dismiss it? Oh, you saw it, right? Oh, something else.
All in your head.
Oof.
Why are you making a big deal out of it?
Oh, fuck.
Stop being so sensitive.
Stop it. Stop it, Smriti.
I'm sorry to everybody listening.
Oof. Okay. How can things be different?
Yes, so let's discuss four things that can help. We're mainly talking about children here and how we can try to make children more resilient and be better able to deal with things. But it also kind of applies to adults. So you can also kind of follow along. First thing is to teach children how to ask for help when they need it, as opposed to kind of dismissing them or making them feel bad about it. So encouraging their curiosity and not being like, why can't you do this yourself, or any dismissing them in any sorts when they are trying to make an effort to ask for any kind of help. So that is the first thing, and making it a normal thing to ask for help.
I think the second thing could be at the same time learning how to answer to the requests of your child. Notice when something is, not okay. creating a very active space for your child to be able to come to you. And that is not going to happen when you say, ki, oh, you can come and talk to me about anything. I'm like your friend. Treat me like your friend.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It's everyday thing. It's a plant. It's a seed that you sow, and then the plant that you water every day, kind of thing. You talk to them about your feelings with them. You talk to them about your experiences. You listen to their everyday experience. What happened at school? What happened with your friend? Oh, or what are you going to do today? Or how was your day today? Everyday thing. I think I want to say with our per GDPA, everybody, the parents are really trying hard to, make a living first, bring food on the table. So that is one thing. And when I myself am talking about creating a space to talk to your child every day, sort of telling me that it's coming from a place of privilege. A privileged man or a privileged family would be able to create that space. But I think if you're not creating that space, nothing can replace it. The food cannot replace it. A big house won't be able to replace it. You just have to. It's just one of the things that you need to prioritize for your child, creating a space for them to be able to be themselves with you.
So I think what you mentioned about the parents not being your friends is also a very important point because they're not. And
Harsh.
I mean, they're not your friends. At the end of the day, they're, you can have like the best relationship with them, even the healthiest relationship, but they're still not your friends. They're still your parents. And don't try to be friends with your children because try to create a safe space for them, but don't try to be their friends because at the end, they should feel like you're a parent, a very approachable parent, but a parent who can take care of them. If the friend kind of blurs lines with it being an equal relationship, which it's
Yeah.
not, and the
The
child should not feel
responsibility.
that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, parentifies the child.
Hmm.
Another thing, the third thing, is to teach children how to identify and appropriately express their feelings from an early age. So, making them, you can start with giving them, familiarizing them with simple feeling words. You can start with sad, angry. You can even have fun words for them. Ki, sad can be, do you feel boo boo? Like anything to get them to express their feelings. Ki, like, oh, I am happy and all of that. So, helping them identify their feelings and expressing it and, not being all rote nahi hai and all of that.
I think the fourth point is a very important point that I also have only very recently fully understood, which is community. Community is very, very helpful. When you have a community that you think you belong to, that that gives you not one but many other people that you can confide into, that you can share your experiences with. And I recently also read a paper on this where they put, say, certain people into a community building program during the COVID times. And then there was this other set of people who were not in the community program. And after certain months, they discovered that maybe the stress tolerance did not increase in the people who were in the community, but their resilience was really good. The negative impact that could stem from being in the lockdown was not as bad with the people in the community. And there could be a million reasons for that. When you feel you belong to a community, which is, a larger sort of family, but then you could also find them in the same level. Even if your community member have people of all ages, but there is something that places all of you on the same level. So you all sit together and you all talk about your feelings and you are all heard. And sometimes they also take stand for you when it's something difficult. So I think in the experiment, one thing that brought them together was, going through the COVID times. It is as helpful for children as it is for adults.
Hmm.
That's what I am coming to discover. But I think it's a very important point to bring in.
I think that feeling like you belong to a community really helps the sense of belonging. And I think that, like, when you're in a community and an actual community that kind of takes care of itself, a lot of your needs are kind of taken care of that sense, not just in a this sense, but different ways. I think that being a part of the community is really helpful because it makes you feel like you have all the resources available to deal with things,
Yeah.
or most of them at least, or that you have people who would protect you, fight for you, speak
Yeah.
for you.
Since healing, does not happen in isolation. So the opposite of
Hmm.
isolation is being with people, being in a community.
Yes. And then with children, you also have to work on their self esteem and their confidence, making them feel good about themselves, making them feel valued, loved, all of that.
I think we went through this paper together that talked about internal locus of control and how that plays a huge role in processing difficult situations, tragic events. So, internal locus of control is what do you think has control of the things that happen to you, with you? Suppose I failed an exam. If I think I failed the exam because the paper was too difficult or teacher was trying to fail me or something like that, then I have an external locus of control. I think things outside of myself has control over what happens with me. But when I think, oh, I failed this exam because I did not prepare as well as I could have, or I need to study more, or I need to eat better or sleep better because maybe I was not able to pay attention in the class because in the paper because I was sleep deprived, etc. So that is having an internal locus of control. It also gives you power to be able to do something about a situation. So when something tragic
Hmm.
happens with me, it's not about blaming yourself, but it's about taking control of it, you know. So a lot of times when maybe you were in a car accident or you were about to get into an accident, you would look around and maybe if you see that you might have been on your phone, then you would know ki, oh, next time I will not use my phone when I'm driving. So that gives you some control over the situation, that gives you some control over what happens after. But if you think maybe I'm not meant for
ये
driving,
बुरी बुरी चीजें मेरे साथ ही होती है.
yes, maybe that, and maybe this town is not safe for driving, something like that, uh,
Yeah.
then you won't be able to drive again, probably. So I think having an internal locus of control, which can be also taught, it is to a great level a trait, but then it can also be developed.
Yeah, it's basically sense of agency. Ki, in the sense ki, if you feel like you can deal with what happens,
Hmm.
like if you feel like you feel in control of that part,
Yeah.
like if you feel like external locus of control, why it would kind of not help the situation is because if your kind of perspective is, you're basically floating through life and things are happening to you and you feel like inherently because of the way life has been and the way maybe your parents have taught you to take responsibility or to not or told you that you can't do anything, things like that, that's what kind of sticks with you. And if you feel like, okay, I can't do anything about this, then that would be external. But internal is like, even if something bad happens, if you have that in the back of your head, ki, okay, I can do something about it. If you feel like you can take care of it, then
Hmm.
it's kind of like you can take responsibility of the situation. An extreme where you are blaming yourself too much for it, things that are actually beyond your control, then that
Hmm.
can be worse for you.
Hmm.
But in the healthy amount where you are taking adequate amount of responsibility for the situation is good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that lastly, what's always helpful is keeping the doors open and keeping an open mind to professional support. If you, whenever you feel like, like not keeping that as something that's for weak people or like, why go for professional support and all of that. Always keeping the door open for that if it's getting a little difficult for you. You do not have to wait till it's absolutely really bad and you have to and there's no option. You can also seek help at a stage where you feel a little bit overwhelmed and you need a little bit of help to cope with what's going on. And if, for example, your child is acting different and you notice that and maybe you feel like you're not able to help as much, it's always good to get external help whenever you feel like you could use that and not seeing it as this very last resort that
Hmm.
is going to be bad. Professional support can very much be one tool in your toolkit. It does
Yeah.
not have to be the fire alarm. Like it can just be one of your tools that you use regularly whenever you need,
Yeah,
when you feel
yeah.
help with. Hmm.
Less taboo around it. So I see that with my clients, that a lot of my clients, they don't want their parents to find out. Or sometimes when the parents do find out that they are seeking therapy, then it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Why do you need therapy?
Yeah.
Or
इतना क्या बुरा हो गया है तुम्हारे साथ?
yeah,
इतनी प्रॉब्लम है तुम्हें लाइफ में?
yes, exactly. And when I was in therapy, I got the same reaction from my family कि इतना भी
कि
क्या
ऐसा क्या हो गया है?
And suddenly the thing comes ki, oh, why can't you talk to us about it? Why do you want to pay somebody else? Like, bro, okay.
You can also be in a perfectly healthy family where you can talk about your feelings to your parents and everything, and you can still seek professional support, and you might still need it sometimes, and that's also
Yeah,
completely fine.
yes, exactly. Like having a very healthy diet, exercising regularly, being treated well at home, you'll possibly be very healthy physically. But sometimes you still catch cold from somewhere. Sometimes you still fall sick, and sometimes things can happen that you might need to go to a doctor, or maybe you would go to a doctor for a checkup. It does not need to be very bad for you to be in therapy. Therapy is not just healing, it can also be a place of growth.
So basically, to summarize, united we stand and divided we fall. Basically, we are the safest emotionally when we are confident in ourselves, knowing that we are loved, that we are valued, and that if things go wrong, we can deal with it, or we can seek support from other people, and that we're not going to be alone in this. That's basically the main thing.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is your stickiest thought from this episode, Kajal?
I think the one thing that's going to stay with me from this episode is when we talked about the feeling that comes when you so really want to share this thing that happened with your loved ones, but you just cannot. You find yourself in a cage, in a space where you cannot. That thought, that
Hmm.
experience has to stay in that particular cage and it just cannot come out.
Hmm.
So I think that's going to stay with me. It's stuck with
Hmm.
me, and I'm gonna think about it later. What's the thought that stuck with you, Smriti?
I think for me, the fact that this is so common, because I think most households do not know how to handle emotions or deal with emotions, validate people's feelings. Just these skills are so scarce in the present. It's just everywhere. You see it everywhere. Not even just talking about parents or adults. It's even in our peer group, in younger people, in older people, and the people same age. It's just a skill that so many of us do not have, and it makes so much sense that we are all carrying so much. Most people are carrying so much, and a lot of it would have been preventable if we had these skills. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's thinking to me, how common this is.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to the end of the
Okay.
episode. I hope all of you had a not great,
Nice time.
but but
Great
I
time.
think that
Great
uh,
time listening about trauma.
I hope that all of you at least found something that resonates with you. I hope that you carry something from this episode and take it into your lives, into the lives of your families and loved ones.
Hmm. And share with us what the stickiest thought for you was from this episode. We would love to know.
Yes. All right. Signing off. Tada. Bye bye.
Bye bye.